Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. Well, what's happening? It's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your weekdaily morning show where we bring you the latest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, technical, on-chain, and fundamental analysis. And in today's episode, we are going to talk about Valentine's Day. What? Yes, I mean, I do love Valentine's Day. If you guys don't know, it's actually the day that I got engaged last year. We got engaged Valentine's Day, married March 5th. We knew we were right for each other. Love you, Sarah. And this Valentine's Day is going to be a very special Valentine's Day for me because of that, but also because, well, some news is dropping. CPI is dropping, hopefully by a lot. As you guys know, the Consumer Price Index is one of the largest drivers of the price action of Bitcoin and the valuation of the dollar. In fact, it's the thing that we really track the value of the US dollar by. And today, we are going to be taking a look at the CPI because I do believe that you're going to see a drop in it coming on February 14th, which is next Tuesday, if I have my dates correctly. It is February 14th, next Tuesday. And when that occurs, we are going to have to sit back and watch and wonder, is that going to cause Bitcoin to rally? Or, on the other hand, because this is a prevailing argument right now, are we instead going to see a major decline on Bitcoin because this rally has started to capitulate, because this rally has started to end? I'm not going to lie, the last 3 days of price action have not exactly been the most bullish on Bitcoin. In fact, they have not instilled a whole lot of confidence in me that we're going to be able to break $23,500. We were hoping that we would be able to from the Fed news, and that news is important. We'll dive into that as well in a minute. But the tricky thing is that it doesn't seem like Bitcoin has a lot of exuberance moving past that Fed rate hike announcement that happened last week. So let's go ahead and read chat, and then we're going to jump straight into the content, starting on CoinMarketCap as always. Looks like Crypto Jeb was first. Shout out to Crypto Jeb. Good job being... I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. I won't jip whoever it was. Looks like it was Rockin' Metal News who was first. Said, "Hi, Jeb. Happy Monday." Happy Monday, my friend. We've also got Silent in chat, one of our lovely, beloved green names. He is a Jebi... Let's see. Is he a... I think it'll tell me right here. I think he's a Jebi Youngling or Jebi Knight. I'm sorry, Silent. I might have that wrong. It's not showing me right off the bat. But thank you so much for your continued support of the channel. We got Mike Lowry in chat as well. Said, "Good morning. Hashtag FinSolve." If you guys don't know, FinSolve is this concept that I came up with a few years ago where essentially I want you guys to have total and complete sovereignty, that meaning control, authority, dominion over your finances so that you are able to maintain your wealth, preserve it into the future. That is something that I want to really, really teach you guys through security, through trading, through investing, through understanding macroeconomics, and through everything that goes into putting together a profitable cryptocurrency portfolio, as well as other investments, which we're going to talk about at some point in the future as well. We've got Crypto Mini Bike in chat as well. Said, "Good morning, everyone." Hello, Crypto Mini Bike. Good morning to you, my friend. Let's see. What other green names do we have in chat? We've got Crypto Ben Franklin in chat. What's up? Said, "Good morning, everybody." We got Crypto Smitty in chat. Hello. Mike Lowry said, "You may have been first to comment, but did you smash the like button?" I did not smash the like button, but, and I am serious, on my phone, it says I was the first one to smash the like button. Probably because I had the stream up before any of you guys were. I'm sure I was not actually the first. No, YouTube Studio tells me there's already 61 likes. Thank you guys so much for the, just the lovely support that you guys have given me. Thank you so much. Daz Meekin in chat. What's up, man? Haven't seen your name in a while. Welcome to the stream. Queen is in chat. We got the Classic IT guy. Said, "Queen, good morning from across the river. Fly, Eagles, fly." Mike Lowry in chat as well. Grand Roofing Incorporated in chat. Silent said, "I'm 46. I'm no youngling anymore, unfortunately. Oh, to be a youngling again." Oh, 46 years young, going on eternity when we believe in our Lord. That's nothing. We got Silent in chat also. He said, flattery will get you a lot in this world, though, Jeb. Crypto Jeb. Well, it's not flattery if it's true. That's the best way to flatter somebody if you're a liar, but I'm not. I'm not flattering you. I just greatly appreciate all of your support. Let's go ahead and jump onto CoinMarketCap. In fact, I have this newfangled thing that I have gotten ready to use, and I'm very excited about it, and it's none other than a Stream Deck. Now, I'm not sponsored by Elgato, but if anybody from Elgato happens to see this stream, I love these products. I would love to actually have an Elgato sponsorship, but I'm really excited because I can just press a button, and then boom, we're on the screen, and then I can press a button again, and then boom, we're right back here, and then I don't have to worry about the scene messing up or anything. I can actually set this thing up correctly, and then I can also, I can run the intro, which we're not going to do that right now. I can run the outro, which we're not going to do that right now. I can mute my... Okay, I'm sorry. I'll stop fiddling with it, and we'll go ahead and actually get into the stream. But I'm really excited because I'm also going to be getting my Mac set up and switching the computers that I'm streaming off of in the next couple of days. Lots been going on. But anyway, let's jump into the chart. Bitcoin is sitting at $22,862.61 right now, and the reason that is a little bit concerning is because that's a drop. Not concerning. Maybe that's not the right word. The reason that that's bearish is because that is a drop, and it's a pretty substantial one, actually, because if we look at the chart, you can see what Bitcoin has been doing ever since about February the 1st. Now, the effective federal funds rate was hiked on, I do believe it was February the 1st. So moving into that EFFR hike, we saw a big jump to the upside, which actually did set new local highs. And we were hoping, okay, good, we set new local highs. Maybe total market capitalization can get above and stay above critical support at $1,021 billion. Maybe Ethereum can break up above $1,800. Again, maybe total can stay up where it needs to be. That, unfortunately, was not what came to pass. We, instead of seeing a big rally, actually saw a continued degradation in the price from our local tops around $24,285 down to where we are now. Bitcoin has lost about $1,500 in valuation ever since February the 1st, which was about 5 days ago. Now, that's actually a trend that was continuing since right here. This market actually, and just track with me here, this might sound a little bit strange. I'll just pull up another chart. This market right here actually reminds me a little bit of what happened during the last bull market. I'll show you what I mean. During the last bull market, there are many people, including some of your favorite YouTubers here on YouTube, that argue that this was actually the all-time high, and then this was just a bounce that went too far. That's kind of what it seems like happened here. We did end up setting higher highs on this second high than we did on the first high, similarly to how we did here at the top of the 2021 bull market. But it's possible to argue that we actually really topped out right here, and we've been in a continual downtrend, and this is just the outlier having to do with a fundamental piece of news. Same thing that happened over here. You could argue that this was actually the all-time high, and we've been in a downtrend ever since, but this local high, this all-time high actually, was an outlier as a result of not Venezuela, if only Venezuela would adopt Bitcoin, as a result of El Salvador adopting Bitcoin. That was one of the big pieces of news that drove Bitcoin to the upside. Many people would argue this was the all-time high. This was just a corrective bounce that went so far that it actually set a new all-time high, but really the bull market actually concluded back here. I think something similar took place right here on Bitcoin in just the last several days. I think that really Bitcoin probably was actually hitting its top, and it was ready to go into a downtrend starting right here around January 29th. And it's easy to say this with the benefit of hindsight. What I'm saying right now, we wouldn't have really been able to tell you with this information right here. Of course, this is something that you kind of have to wait and watch the market move so that you can understand it. So unfortunately, this isn't something that you really could have predicted, but with what the market is doing right now, that kind of seems to be what's happening. This was the local top. This was an outlier as a result of a critical piece of news. In this case, it was the effective federal funds rate hiking by 25 basis points. And then the market ended up having its correction continue, and that bearish trajectory we were on, except for these like 7 candles here, continued. You can almost think about it, and I guess I've been called the king of weird analogies. So here's another weird analogy. If you have a because I'm a giant nerd of all kinds of science, if you have a tectonic plate, as in a continental plate, and then an earthquake comes and then shears it like this, you see the grain continues, and then it just jumps over here, and then it continues. I'll see if I can find a picture for you. That's kind of what happened to the market right now. That's kind of what it looks like took place, where you have the kind of the fracturing, the sliding here. I'll give you an example. This is a really weird analogy, I know, but look right here. This is what I'm talking about. This right here, this picture will do. Okay, well, it doesn't want to show me. Give me 1 second. It took me to some weird page. You see how there's a grain going right here? and then because of the fracturing, it just kind of slip faults. I think it's called a slip fault or a slide fault. Any of the geologists in chat can tell me if I'm wrong on that. You can see it right over here. You can see the grain continues. It just slips to the upside or to the downside a little bit based on the way that the plate itself has shifted. That's kind of what seems to have happened on Bitcoin here, where Bitcoin's general trend was this, except here's the trend, here's the trend. There's just a little bit of a EFFR, effective federal funds rate earthquake, that shifted the market to the upside, but then the actual trend continued. If not for that news, maybe Bitcoin would have just continued down just like this. And we would have seen Bitcoin down at 22.9 by now, at 22.2 or 22,000 flat by now. So anyway, that's kind of my theory about what's going on here. I think that we saw the beginning of a correction starting here, because before this movement, we were nothing but up. After that movement, we've been pretty much nothing but down, except we saw one kind of slip fault, if you will, to use the geological term, causing Bitcoin to move to the upside a little further than it perhaps should have. But nevertheless, the trend has actually been down for 7 days. That's kind of the theory that we're working with here. Now, the question that we have to go back to is this. What is Bitcoin going to do over the next several days with the news of the Valentine's Day CPI data dropping coming in? So we're going to analyze that from a few points of view. I'm going to look at chat first, but then we're going to talk about the CPI. We're going to talk about everything going into the CPI. We're going to look at the price of many different goods over the last 20 years or so, using a chart over on the Bureau of Labor Statistics website. And then we're going to talk about the what the actual CPI drop will probably look like and how that may have impacted Bitcoin, while also looking at some of the corroborating factors towards Bitcoin's price right now. So let's go ahead and jump into chat. Really appreciate the 370 of you guys tuning in already. Thank you guys so much. By the way, I have a question for you. How many of you guys, and in fact, I will just go ahead and make this a poll. Let's see here, because I'm thinking about other ways to bring content to you guys. How many, let me just type this. Would you like to see more? Would you like to see more afternoon videos? So if you guys remember, this channel started with me making a video every single day. Now, I probably am not going to go back to every single day, because a lot of times I ended up making videos when there wasn't a whole lot to talk about, because sometimes there's not a lot to talk about in crypto. But tell me if you guys like those little 8 to 12 minute afternoon videos where there was an intro and there was an outro, and then it was well packaged and neat and it was edited. Tell me if you guys would like to see that content come back, because there's a lot of really, really big plans that I have for content, but that's something that I could probably get back online within the next month or so. Now, it would probably go back away for a little bit while the baby's here, but if you guys are interested in that kind of content, I would love to bring it back, because you guys seem to really enjoy that style of content. And rather than just the stream. Legendary Bullfrog said, I'm sorry, I clicked no on accident. I really meant yes. Now, there is a little bit of a catch. If I do that, I will probably end up shortening Coffee and Crypto a little bit. Now, that's not something I've decided on, but that is a possibility. And the reason for that is, quite frankly, guys, there's not a lot to talk about in crypto these days. And also, I really, really, really appreciate the ability to not just go into something live where I have to do it off the cuff, but really just dive into something and get really, really nitty gritty and bring you all the details and not have to double question myself. Wait, did I remember that fact correctly? I can actually kind of script out the videos, or at least thoroughly plan them, so that I can go into a ton of detail on something that's not very topical. So for example, I can make a really, really, really in-depth video on Russia, Ukraine, how that's impacting Bitcoin. I can make a really, really, really in-depth video on my Bitcoin price prediction for the next 5 years and how I think the bull market is going to go. I can make a really very in-depth documentary style video on the FTX debacle. Tell me if you guys would like that kind of content. Now, it probably would come at the expense of 15 to 20, maybe 30 minutes shaved off of Coffee and Crypto every day. I'd still be going live daily, but I would end up using more of that time, and especially the energy, because it takes a lot of energy to sit here on camera and just talk to myself for an hour. A lot of that energy and that attention and that focus would be going into those afternoon videos. They would be a lot more bite-sized, and you'd be able to watch them any time of the day. You would still get the live stream, but tell me what you guys think about that. We're getting 84% of people saying yes. Now, that was 84% of people saying yes before I added the caveat that it might come at the expense of taking a little bit of time off of Coffee and Crypto. Not taking days off, but taking a little bit of the runtime off. So just tell me what you guys think about that in chat. We'll go ahead and jump back on to the chart. I do think you guys will like that, because 30 to 45 minutes for a live stream, we can still knock out everything we need to for the daily news, daily technical analysis. I can still get you guys caught up. You just have to talk faster on Coffee and Crypto. Yeah, I can talk even faster, but I can also be a little bit less long-winded, and I think it would actually help me to be more concise because I'm good at talking quickly, but because I'm good at talking quickly, a lot of times that has led to me speaking and saying a lot more than I need to, where I can, if I shorten the runtime of Coffee and Crypto, I could probably still cover everything I needed to cover just by being a lot more concise with what I'm covering. So, really would love to hear what you guys think on that because there's a lot of different directions I'd like to go in. The Coffee and Crypto format is wonderful for covering daily technical analysis, daily news, but I want to dive into the nitty-gritty, and that's not really something that you can do in a live stream format. So I want to make sure that there's bandwidth on my part to be able to do both of those. So again, tell me what you guys think about that. That can be a conversation that we have over the next few weeks here. Anything but the backyard swing videos. I got motion sickness from watching. That's a good point. I never even thought about that. Probably won't do that again. Sorry about that. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump right back into the analysis here. So there are a couple of different charts I want to show you. The first one here is the Bureau of Labor Statistics price graph, the graph for the 12-month percentage change of the Consumer Price Index. That's a mouthful. So, as you can see, all items on CPI currently is sitting at 6.5. This is what was presented, I think, January 13th. Is that when that came out? Somewhere around the first 2/5, if you will, of January, the last news dropped, showing December 2022's 12-month percentage change, not seasonally adjusted. During that event, what we saw, and if I'm able to go, I can probably find the chart here. Show the table. Then we can see, okay, well, that's good. I need the table too. So there's an entirely other chart I need to show you. Hang on one second. BLS.gov/CPI. Boom. I need to go to read more. I think it is. I think I need to go to read more. No, hang on one second. There's another chart. I've got 4 charts I want to show you, and I'm missing one of them. Missing one of them. I might just be able to get away without it. I wanted to show you the change over the... Here we go. That's the chart I'm looking for. All right. So now I have all the charts I need. I was missing 2 of them, actually. Sorry about that. In fact, I was only missing one of them. I was missing this one. So essentially what we're looking at here is that all items dropped down to 6.5%. Now, the way that took place was by a couple of different sectors dropping very, very quickly. So let's rewind a little bit. What is CPI? CPI is the Consumer Price Index. It is presented to the American people by a branch of a bureau of the United States. The United States government called the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The Bureau of Labor Statistics puts out the CPI data every single month, showing the rolling average of the change over the last 12 months. So the CPI is actually a number, and every time that number gets reported, then CPI reports the number, but it also reports the change in that number. So I can actually show you the number very easily here. Let me just go ahead and bring up CPI over on TradingView, because you actually can grab it on TradingView here. Let's just go CPI. We're going to go to all, CPI. Actually, I think we might have to do Consumer Price Index. I think we might have to spell it out. I believe this is what we're looking for. I think this is what we're looking for right here. Is this all items in U.S. city average one day? All right, this is going to at least give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So the fact is, you have CPI, and it's continuing to go up and up and up and up and up every single year. Nonstop, ad infinitum, for all time. You can see it was at 21 points back here in 47. It's now at 298 points. Really, if you want to see how much the CPI has changed, just drag it like this. It's increased by 1,300%, which means the value of the dollar since 1947, purchasing power, if you're tracking the value of the dollar by purchasing power, has declined by, invert 1,300% into a fraction, it's declined by what, about 93%. And the way we know that, just kind of run it backwards, it's declined by 93%. So that's very substantial, because even in just the last few months, the last few years, the value of the dollar, the purchasing power of the dollar, has degraded, at least by the CPI's measurement, by nearly 15%. And the CPI itself has gone up by nearly 17%. Now, year over year is what what Bureau of Labor Statistics is tracking. So if we're looking at December 1st to December 1st, you can see we rallied 6.3%. Now, I'm not measuring the chart perfectly because it actually was 6.5%, but you can see right here, 6.5%. Boom. If you measure it perfectly, there's 6.5%. That's where this number is coming from right here. If you were to go onto this chart and show all items less food and energy, it would come back at 5.7%. Now, so that's what CPI is. It is a broad tracking of a bunch of different sectors of the economy. So you've got food, energy, all items less than food, and then you've got the subcategories. So these subcategories are very important because some of them are things, as I said, like food. Some of them are things like fuel oil and gasoline and electricity and natural gas. These are all major parts of the United States economy. New vehicles, used cars and trucks. We've got airline fare, owner's equivalent rent of residence, rent of primary residences. These show you the changes in the last 12 months. Now, the thing that happened last month is that we saw fuel oil drop its inflation by 16.6%, which means that if you just add 16.6% to 41.5, then you're going to get, what would that be, 58.1. It was at 58.1 for November of 2022, and then it dropped down to 41.5%, which was 16.6% decline. That is where the majority of the 0.6% drop came from. Now, we also saw gasoline drop by 9.4%, which means that energy commodities on the average, based on the weighting, now these are weighted a little bit differently, dropped by 9.4%, which means that energy, which also includes energy services like electricity, natural gas, and a couple of other things, that dropped by 4.5%. So since energy dropped by 4.5% from 11 point, I'm doing my addition here, from 11.8% down to 7.3, that major category dropping so much caused us a drop from 7.1 to 6.5%. That was a pretty big deal. Now, that's probably not going to happen again this time come Valentine's Day. And the reason is gasoline actually went negative. It actually decreased year over year by 1.5% on the last report. We have seen gasoline prices, if you just, have driven down the road, gasoline prices have gone up over the last month. That's pretty substantial because the deflation, and there was actually 1.5% deflation in the price, the consumer price of gasoline in the United States year over year in December of 2022 from December of 2021. That's probably going to have a quick little dog leg back to the upside, where we've seen gas prices go up maybe 30 cents, maybe 25 to 30 cents, depending on where you live. That's about what it's done since where I live. I keep an eye on it just as I'm driving by so that I can think about this CPI. I'm doing my research while I'm in the car, not texting and driving. I'm just looking at the sign, And so gasoline is probably actually going to go up slightly. Fuel oil is probably going to come down. God only knows how much. The problem is the United States petrochemical industry has gone through a major revitalization. There is a massive amount of investment in the United States petrochemical industry. However, that investment in the petrochem sector is going to take multiple years to bring online, and also many of the largest oil and gas drillers in the United States, the largest producers, are not actually using much of their profit to reinvest in new drilling. Instead, they're using it for things like stock buybacks. They're using it for things like executive bonuses. They're using it for things such as the expansion of their companies in the areas outside of drilling. Production has not been going up as fast as the profits of the oil and gas companies has been, and so the production of crude oil in the United States is not as high as you would want it to be, and the refining capacity is not quite as high as you would want it to be as well. In the United States, this is a trend that is likely going to take a few years to work itself out. And in that time, you probably will continue to see $3.50 a gallon gas, and it probably won't ever go back below $3. It probably at some point will go above $4 and not go back below $4 either. I think it might be $10 by the end of the decade based on inflation and based on geopolitical realities, such as Russia more or less going completely offline as an oil and gas exporter in the next 5 to 7 years as a result of the fact that Western companies built their entire oil and gas industry, and nobody in Russia knows how to run the thing or rebuild the thing or design the thing or expand the thing. And also, they're likely going to end up having their pipes freeze, and it'll take 30 years for them to rebuild that, which means it will never be rebuilt. Siberian oil will probably never be completely tapped because Russia is going to more than likely collapse on itself demographically in the next 10 years. That is going to cause the United States to then become the massive front runner in global oil supplies, which means that the the cost of gasoline and fuel oil worldwide will go up because there's simply less production and demand is always increasing. Okay, so what does that mean for CPI? CPI likely will have a slight drop in energy, not a very large one, probably not as large of a drop in energy as we saw the last time. Now, let's talk about food. That's where another one of my charts comes in, and you can see it right here. This is over on CPI Bureau of Labor Statistics. You might recognize this chart. You might not. If I tell you what this chart is, I'm sure you'll know what I'm talking about. This is the price of eggs per dozen. You thought we weren't going to end up talking about the egg crisis. Guys, I feel so bad. We made a mistake. We bought a dozen eggs and we forgot to bring them in the house, and we wasted $5 for a dozen eggs, and I felt like such a nimwit. Like, of all times to waste a dozen eggs, now is not the time. $5 a dozen. That's what the United States national average is. It's up about, in fact, right here on this chart of December of 2022, it was sitting at $4.25 a dozen. Now, I don't have a lot of time to go into why egg prices are skyrocketing, but quite simply put, the main reason that egg prices are skyrocketing is because there is an H5N1 bird flu outbreak, and that has led to the culling of over 100 million poultry and fowls in the United States and in Europe. And when you cut the bird population by multiple percentage points, that is a very marginal kind of industry, so that if you cut out 5% of the poultry, you're probably going to double the price of eggs. When you cut that many birds from circulation, or from production, if you will, that causes a major problem because there's no longer as many birds producing eggs, and so eggs have to go up because of simple supply and demand. There's less supply, the demand's the same, so the price increases. Now, this can change, and this is probably a temporary increase in egg prices. Don't expect to be paying $5 a dozen for eggs forever unless bird flu becomes endemic, in which case, well, you probably want to go vegan because eggs are very likely going to be $20 a dozen. But that's probably not going to happen because they'll probably end up getting this under control. The problem right now is that if one bird in an entire flock gets bird flu, they have to cull the entire flock because it's that deadly, it's that dangerous. And also, from an epidemiological perspective, globally, governments of the world don't want bird flu breaking out, because if bird flu breaks out too much and gets a chance to mutate and jump to humans, isn't that what happened with the pandemic? Isn't the running narrative that it started in bats and then it ended up jumping to humans? Bird flu is substantially more fatal than the pandemic that we've been dealing with for the last 3 years ever was. If that jumps to humans, you're talking about a pandemic 5 times worse than I almost said the word that would get me shut down on YouTube, than the pandemic. So, as much as it sucks to have to pay this much money for eggs, I think you'd rather pay a lot of money for eggs than have a bird flu outbreak that is now able to jump to humans. Anyway, so that's just one of the factors that's causing the food part of CPI to go up, and probably will continue to go, at least stay the same. Now, let's look at a few other categories. Let's look at bananas. Bananas are still sitting at 64 cents a pound. Not that big a deal. Bread is continuing to go up. It was sitting at $1.29 a pound. That's crazy to think of in May of 2019. Now it's at $1.87. Bread is getting a lot more expensive. You look at chicken. Chicken, obviously, makes sense, has gotten more expensive because you can't eat a bird that's infected with bird flu. It could very seriously hurt you. So as eggs have been going up, the cost of chicken has gone up as well. Not quite as much because of the fact that of what kind of birds are susceptible to bird flu, and also just the fact that there's a lot more. Chicken is just not the same market as eggs are. You look at milk. Milk has gone from nearly $3 a gallon all the way up to $4 a gallon, and is continuing to rise. Do you see the trend on all of these? They're continuing to go up. Now, oranges are seasonal, of course, so you see them go up and down with the season, but in general, oranges have started to get much more expensive, much to my son's chagrin. He loves oranges. Tomatoes haven't really done a whole lot. Gasoline. You can see gasoline was sitting at $1.88 a gallon. By the way, you can see the URL if you want to go to this site up here. Rallied all the way up to $5 a gallon. This is the national average. It's dropped down to $3.36 right now, but I think that may actually go up marginally over the next couple of months and then continue going down. Gasoline is probably going to continue a downwards trend, which will help with CPI coming down, but it may end up hiking a little bit this month. I don't know that we're going to have a major drop in CPI this month for that reason. Gas seems to at least have stopped its decline, or actually gone up a little bit, just a tiny little bit. And then we've also got the how would you say, the egg crisis. The existential threat to the CPI is the eggs. Now, utilities, piped natural gas, that's piped per therm. That's per thermal unit, is sitting up quite substantially. So many of these areas many of these different commodities that go into all items have actually stopped going down briefly. They'll probably continue to go down, or they're still going up, or they have plateaued. Gasoline may have gone up slightly. Fuel oil is more hard to tell because that's a much more broad category. Poultry has gotten substantially more expensive, so now it's kind of going to come down to some of these other categories, such as apparel, such as rent, such as hospital services, such as transportation services. Transportation services are largely dependent on global supply chains and on the petrochemical industry in the United States, because you're typically using gasoline in the United States that was created in the United States, especially in the last 3 years. These services are probably not going to go down. Not talking about airline fare, but these motor services and whatnot, and also maintenance and repair, and also the the different things that these cars use. This is probably going to stay about the same for right now. Now, one other thing to take into account: shelter, rent of primary residence. Rent has been gradually increasing slightly by slightly, and a big part of the reason for that is because of the interest rates the interest rates that the landlords are having to pay for these dwellings that people are renting. I don't have a lot of time either to get into the shelter market, but it has changed substantially. Now, all of that kind of tells me that we're going to have a little bit of a hard time seeing this drop by 0.6% again. I think what you're probably going to see is a drop by 0.3 to 0.5%, which will be good, but it won't be as large of a drop as we've seen in past. We just saw 0.6%. That was wonderful. When we saw 0.6%, don't forget, Bitcoin went through this rally. I have this vertical line roughly right around the time that CPI print came out. Bitcoin went parabolic on it, and that's why we're talking about CPI right now, is because Bitcoin went absolutely parabolic following that 0.6% CPI drop. I think you will see a CPI drop, but I don't think it's going to be that substantial. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into reading the chat. I really appreciate all of you guys for tuning in and paying attention to the technical analysis and the macro and all the different things that are going into the price of Bitcoin right now. To be honest with you, a lot of the news in crypto is complete nothing burger right now. And that's why you haven't heard me reading a lot of news. Now, I'll talk about the bankrupt companies. I'll talk about FTX. I'll talk about BlockFi. I'll talk about these different entities that have gone belly up in the cryptocurrency space. But the fact of the matter is, most of what is impacting Bitcoin's price right now are not factors inside of crypto. They are factors outside of crypto. We're talking the Russian-Ukrainian war. We're talking about the CPI. We're talking about the effective federal funds rate. We're talking about the Dixie, and we're talking about the SPY. Those are the 5 biggest impactors on Bitcoin's price. And tell me if you'd like for one of those afternoon videos to be on that. Put some face masks on those birds ASAP. Somebody get Fauci in here. Put some face masks on those beaks. Oh, man. War equals $15 a gallon. Maybe. Maybe. We're going to talk about the balloon also here in a little bit. You guys have probably been watching that a lot. That is the biggest piece of news that everybody's been following lately, is a stupid spy balloon that crashed over. Oh, man. All right. Let's see. Shadrach Frost in chat said, "Good morning, Jeb and everyone in chat. What is up, my friend?" You guys are saying quality, not quantity. That's really what I'm talking about. Because, see, the way that this channel got started is I just made a video every single day, 7 days a week for 3 years. And I really liked that. But now that we're much more established as a community, I think I can kind of pull back and I can do maybe 3 to 4 videos a week, but really pour my heart and soul into them. And it not just be like this assembly line thing where I'm just making a video because I committed to making 7 videos a week. Now, the stream, we make 5 a week, but the stream's a lot more freeform. You know, I can sit here and I can talk to you guys just in chat the whole stream if I wanted to. And I probably wouldn't perform very well, but I could sit here and talk to you guys the whole time. I can be more freeform. That's the point of a stream, is that, yes, you plan for it, yes, you prepare for it, but that's really about the extent of what you can do on a live stream. Now, with an afternoon video, that's where you can put a lot of time and effort and attention and detail into. So I would be really interested in that. We probably wouldn't just jump straight down to 30 minutes. We'd probably jump down to 45 minutes if we did that. But, yeah. So tell me what you think. All righty. I personally do not like live videos because I rarely catch them in on time and can't listen for an hour. People at work can't catch a live stream. I prefer concise, edited videos. I think you are in the majority. I think you're in the majority, because also the other thing to keep in mind is that the vast majority, Coffee and Crypto has never actually generated a net increase in subscribers. This is really where our community comes to connect every single day. Instead, those afternoon videos, the shorts, that other Twitter content, Instagram content, that other content that we've done in the past, that's really where the community has been growing. And that's what I want to do. I want to grow the community so that we have more faces in chat. I want us to grow the community, and I also want to make content that you guys can share, because it's kind of hard to just say, hey, go watch this live stream, but it's an hour. I don't have time. I get it. But if you've got a 7-minute video breaking something down, that's what I think you guys are really going to enjoy. Is a perfect plan, my G. Would love more in-depth videos, and those take time to create properly. Exactly. Buy farm fresh eggs, and you don't need to refrigerate them. That is true. Most of the rest of the world does not refrigerate their eggs. The United States refrigerates their eggs because it is law in the United States to wash the eggs. The eggs have a film, a coating over them when they come out of the chicken that keeps them, safe when they're not refrigerated. Because I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but for a fertilized chicken egg that grows into a chicken, that normally, there's not a refrigerator in nature. So they kind of have to exist without refrigeration. That's the way God made a chicken. They didn't give the chicken a refrigerator and said, thou shalt have an egg and then put it in this natural refrigerator. No, the egg comes out ready to just kind of sit out there until it hatches. So it's the United States policy that means that they have to be refrigerated, and they do have to be refrigerated or they will go bad in the States because of that washing. He who has the chickens has the power. I like it. Silas E. Borg. Jeb believes mainstream crap. Kind of sad. What mainstream crap do you mean? I'm not sure what mainstream stuff you're talking about. All right. Can there be a day when you do different technical analysis on different coins? Possibly. I'm open to that for sure. I'd probably end up doing that on the stream. I didn't know it was law to refrigerate eggs. That's weird. It's not law to refrigerate eggs. It's law that you have to wash the eggs if you were an egg producer, because there's a film around them. In all of the other countries of the world, all my European fans can raise their hand and say this, they've got a little metal bowl on their counter, and they just pile all the eggs in there, and it sits on the counter. You don't do that. The chicken lays a fridge with each egg. Check out Meet Kevin's new video format. I think this will help you free up more time by segmenting your live show. That's something that I'd be definitely interested in checking. Meet Kevin's got a pretty cool channel. Very fortunate that I'm able to tune into you and others when you go live. I always really enjoy the live streams. Well, thank you. Let's see. I've been watching you since 2019. I learned so much. A Black Swan event might be around the corner, by the way. Yeah, probably. Let's see. I'm going to read chat here for a couple more minutes. Petrol is a lot more expensive in Europe. I was in Ireland in November. It was equal to $8 a gallon. Yes, it is, and that's because the European Union does not have anywhere near the oil and gas independence that the United States does. The United States is the single largest producer in the world of natural gas and oil, crude oil, with Russia being right behind them in both of those categories. In fact, I think Russia might be ahead of the United States in natural gas production. Either way, they're both 1 and 2. The fact of the matter is, the European Union, again, does not have that much oil independence. Now, Scotland does, and Britain does, but of course there's the Scottish independence movement going on right now. Scotland, theoretically, has oil independence if it was not exporting all of it because of all of the oil and gas that's sitting in the North Sea. Oh, by the way, I have an announcement for you guys before we jump into the next part of the stream. For all of you guys, and you guys are going to be very happy about this because I finally got my act together. For all of you guys who have been trying to get into CT2A, because as you guys know, CT2A is an antiquated product now. We don't sell it anymore because, announcement's coming, you can actually get into CT2A now. Check the link in the description box down below. There are 2 links down there. One of the links is for you guys who bought CT2A with full price, which is about 98% of you guys. The other link is for you guys that bought on the 3-month payment plan where you paid $133 for 3 months and you split it into 3 payments. If you're a CT2A member, and you guys can help remind anybody who asked this in chat, you can go down into the description. In fact, I'll just go ahead and read exactly what I put down there. Let me just show this. Go edit. I'm not going to show it. I'm just going to read it. Well, actually, I don't need to read it. You guys can find it. It's down in the description. Those 2 links down there, just try and use your login credentials there, and you should be able to get into CT2A. If you're not able to get into CT2A, you can let me know again, but that should fix the problem. I said, all CT2A alumni, please use one of these links to log into your CT2A. You may have to try both. So check the links in the description box down below if you're trying to get into CT2A, and that should fix things. All right. You missed to read some chats above, Jeb. Oh, hello, Siobhan Golay, by the way. Isn't gas subsidized in these states? I have to check on that. No, we have eggs in the fridge. I'm from EU. Oh, you do? Okay. Well, must be mistaken. When you buy farm eggs, they're not white either. They can be many different colors. Yep, that's right. That's right. All right. Cool. So let's go ahead and Benz310 donated $5. Said, what came first, the orange or the color? Gosh, you are pulling me into a trivia direction. Oh, I know the answer to that. I actually learned that one time. Much love. Yes. Oh, goodness. What is the answer to that? Oh, man. I'd have to look that up. I knew that at one point. Something to do with the Portuguese? I'm racking my brain trying to remember. Oh, he means that you believe Fauci actually helped us all at all? I didn't say that. I was just making a joke about Fauci talking about masks. I did not say that I think Fauci helped us. I also did not say that I think Fauci didn't help us because I'm not jumping into what I think about Fauci. But I did not make a statement as to whether or not I agree or disagree with him. Just be very clear about that. I think it was the color first. I believe it was the color first. Man. I mean, the fruit was created first, but I think the fruit was named after the color. I'm pretty sure it was. All right. Light came first, which allowed growth. That's true. There you go. Boom. we cracked the code. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The grain the chicken ate. There we go. Let's just short circuit the entire conversation. Okay. So jumping back into it, now we're going to talk about CPI and how it's going to impact Bitcoin. So here's the deal. CPI is one of the largest drivers of Bitcoin. As I told you, there's 5 major categories right now. You got the SPY, you got the Dixie, you got effective federal funds rate, you got Russia, Ukraine, and you got the CPI. The CPI is the next one of those pieces of news that's going to have an impact. Every 7 days or so, one of those news stories comes out, changes things. The next one, unless something happens with Russia and Ukraine, is likely going to end up being the CPI. The CPI is likely going to drop. By how much? We don't know yet. William Putnam said, I'm back in CT2A. Yay. Yes. Okay, good. It's working. Wonderful. Awesome. So what's likely going to happen first is that we're likely going to see the CPI data come out, and it's probably going to have an impact on Bitcoin. Now, historically, CPI dropping has been very bullish for Bitcoin for a multitude of reasons. People think, okay, inflation's going down, the economy's getting stronger, I'm going to go into more risk-on assets. However, there is also a counter-argument to be said there. When CPI is going down, the reason for investing in Bitcoin goes down slightly as well, because one of the reasons you buy Bitcoin is for the sake of hedging inflation. So if inflation is going down, Bitcoin actually loses part of its purpose for being, which is hedging against that inflation. People are much more concerned about 9% inflation than they are about 3.5. So it is a double-edged sword. At least recently and historically, we have seen increases in price as a result of bullish CPI news coming out. We saw some CPI news drop right around here. Market rallied. We saw CPI news drop right around here. Rallied. We're going to see CPI news drop right around here. Well, actually, it'd be right around here. And I think we're going to see somewhat of a bounce and a movement on Bitcoin. The question is, what does the rest of the environment look like? Well, right now, Russia, Ukraine, Russia seems to be making gains. People don't like that. People don't like seeing Russia make gains, because if Russia is making headwinds against Ukraine and Ukraine falls, oh crap, all of European stability is thrown completely out the window. And then you've got Erdogan over there in Turkey trying to throw out the ideas of Sweden and Finland joining NATO. That doesn't help things either. That security environment does not create a lot of security in the environment for people to want to invest in Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is a risk-on asset, people would rather be in the US dollar than in Bitcoin if there is a world war declared, because the United States dollar will absolutely win that war so long as nukes don't get involved. No question about it. The West would completely and totally win a conflict with Russia. It would be costly, but they would win, and it would be a stomp. So if the Russians are advancing on Kiev, That doesn't put a lot of confidence in people investing in risk on assets, again, because of that security environment that I talked about. The security policy has become much more important over the last year as a result of Russia launching that illegal war on Ukraine, immoral, illegal, completely reprehensible war on Ukraine, and also because of tensions between between China and Taiwan and the United States. So that's one factor. Let's look at the other factors. Bitcoin right now is poised to potentially go through a rally when we see CPI data drop. Now, the tricky thing is that Bitcoin is also, as I said, positively correlated to the SPY, inversely correlated to the Dixie. There's a couple of problems with that. First problem is that the S&P 500 is actually going through a bit of a decline right now, and the Dixie is actually bouncing. The Dixie is bouncing partially because of the hike in the EFFR, but it's also partially hiking because of, actually, it's just kind of hiking because it's bottomed out so much. That's really a lot to do with it, and also the way the other world banks, the other national banks around the world are changing their policy. Now, like I said, the problem here is that Bitcoin rises or falls with the S&P 500. The correlation is extreme. You can see the correlation between this orange line right here, which I'll just go ahead and take off the Dixie for a moment. You can see the correlation between this orange line right here and Bitcoin is astronomical. When Bitcoin rallies, so too is that market. When Bitcoin is going down, so too is the SPY. Rally, rally, drop, drop, rally, rally, drop, drop, rally, rally, drop, drop. We're in a drop right now. So we kind of have to look at the S&P 500 and see what it's going to do relatively soon. Here's the good news. The S&P 500 is going through a healthy correction. It's not going through a massive flash crash. It's going through a healthy correction because it topped out at 418 points. That is the exact same level that the market bottomed out at on the day that the Russian-Ukrainian conflict began. In fact, it actually bottomed out slightly below that, but it moved on to set the local bottom around 417. So the S&P 500 right now is trying to break through that resistance. That's going to be extremely difficult considering the fact that tech is getting absolutely obliterated. By my estimations, we've seen between 50 and 100,000 tech layoffs in the big major corporations and also the small companies around the United States. We've seen the downsizing of Google. We've seen the downsizing of Netflix, possibly the bankruptcy of Netflix. That's been prophesied for about 3-4 years now, but that could be coming soon, considering they just made it impossible for you to share accounts. Netflix is a big part of the stock market. They're also one of the canary in the coal mines for the direction of tech stocks. You're talking about FANG, that's Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. You're looking at Netflix being a big part of that. Google just had a case opened against it by the United States federal government for antitrust, which is something people have been calling for about 2 decades. That probably did need to happen. As much as Google is useful, Google is also absolutely a monopoly in the search department and in a lot of the data department. So the SPY is going to have a difficult time getting through this resistance level. Getting through this resistance level is going to be hard because of what's going on in tech and what's going on in real estate, but it might be a little bit easier because of what's going on in the energy sector. The energy sector and the manufacturing sector in the United States is going through the largest revolution, especially including the shale revolution, ever since the First World War ended. We're talking about the roaring 20s. That's what we're seeing going on in the industrial sector. The blue-collar American is going to stand to profit a lot over the next 5 years, and the reason is globalization is completely and totally collapsing, so all of that manufacturing is going back to the nation that it was in before globalization, which was the United States. So manufacturing is exploding. It got set on a bullish direction by Trump. Many of the policies that set U.S. manufacturing in that direction by Trump were doubled down and tripled down and quadrupled down on by President Joe Biden. And now with the imminent doom of China in the next 8 years, we are seeing the vast majority of the manufacturing that was being the investment of manufacturing that was being put into China is now moving back into the United States. You're seeing it put into the American Southwest. You're seeing some of it potentially going into Detroit. You're seeing some of it come into the United States Southeast. There is also a semiconductor revolution going on where you're seeing all kinds of different players around the world placing embargoes on China who worked on a lot of the semiconductors. Many of the semiconductor manufacturing processes are being brought to the United States. So manufacturing, oil, doing well, tech, and real estate, not doing so good. So the question is, who wins out? Can the stock market blast through the ceiling? I'm not sure. I couldn't exactly tell you because the stock market is not as simple as technical analysis. Now, one stock maybe, but the stock market, you really have to look at it through a macro lens. I think the stock market will end up doing well. I think it will end up breaking 417, but with what strength, I don't know. We're going to have to step back and see how America's reindustrialization takes place, and that could take multiple years. That's not really something that we can track on a day-to-day time frame, which is what we're trying to look at here. From a technical standpoint, the SPY is doing exceptionally well because it broke the downtrending level of resistance. It ended up breaking up here. Testing the resistance is probably going to backtest, maybe down to 400 points, maybe even slightly lower. If it bounces from there and then breaks through $417, then that would be wonderful. And that would probably lead to Bitcoin moving to the upside. So that's the SPY. That's the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. Let's talk about the Dixie. And then we'll talk about the EFFR, and then we'll get to the CPI and see how all of them impact. Dixie right now is bouncing. That's a problem for Bitcoin because the Dixie going down has been one of the biggest bullish drivers of Bitcoin price in the last 3 months. Dixie topped out at 114 points, dropped by 14 points down to 100 ever since the end of September, all the way to where we are now, but now it's rallying with a three white soldiers pattern. That's an incredibly bullish pattern. For any of you guys who know your technical analysis and your chart formations, 1 soldier, 2 soldier, 3 white soldiers. That's what we're looking at, and they are bullish. If we see this 3 white soldiers pattern conclude with today closing and us having a very large green candle, that means that we could be seeing a new rally on Dixie. The problem with Dixie and SPY moving in their current directions is that they're moving in the exact wrong direction for the S&P, for the CPI data to come out and for it to be bullish. Because if we're seeing the Dixie go up and we're seeing the SPY go down, that's the exact opposite environment that we need to see for Bitcoin to rally. We need to see the SPY going up and Dixie going down. They're doing the opposite of that. They're doing both of them are moving in the bearish direction right now. So if CPI comes in and is below expectation, most people would like to see another 0.6% drop, but it's probably going to be 0.3 or 0.4. And you're seeing the SPY go down, you're seeing the Dixie go up, and the EFFR did not have the bullish impact that many people were hoping it would, then what do you see happen here? You see difficulty with Bitcoin breaking above $24,000 on the CPI rate hike news. It is possible, but it's going to be a lot harder than it otherwise would have been. So if you are sitting here waiting and hoping and praying and pleading that the CPI will be the saving grace of this downtrend that Bitcoin's in, I'm here to tell you that's not necessarily what's going to happen. The next several days look questionable. Now, it is 8 days away, but that's the reason there's a question mark in the title and in the thumbnail, not an exclamation mark, because I'm not totally convinced that you're just going to see a massive rally on CPI this month. We did last month because we saw a big CPI drop, and that's something we told you guys would happen. We saw a massive drop in the price of fuel oil and in the price of gasoline and in the inflation of gasoline. Both of those things were huge impactors on the price. Those things are slowing down now. Food is, if anything, plateauing or getting slightly more expensive. You're not seeing a massive drop-off in those categories. Now, you could say that you're going to see the data from 12 months ago trail off on the food, and that could cause it to come down. That's true, but is that going to be enough to cause CPI to drop substantially? I'm not convinced. So, time's going to tell. But I think you're at this point going to have a hard time breaking above 25K as a result of this CPI drop. So there you go. That's my take. Okay. Let's see. I wish we could push the pause button on Russia and Ukraine. Yeah, I wish we could put the stop button on Russia and Ukraine. It is very sad what's going on. Very sad. All right, we're going to read chat here pretty much for the rest of the stream. In fact, actually, before we do that, you guys go ahead and tell me what you're thinking about in chat. Let's go ahead and pause for just a second and talk about the Chinese spy balloon. So this has been a very interesting story over the last week. About 3 weeks ago, maybe about 2 weeks ago, this balloon was spotted off the Aleutian Islands. If you don't know where the Aleutian Islands are, picture in your mind what Alaska looks like. You know how it has that one little leg here and then has that long trail of islands right there. That long trail of islands, those are called the Aleutian Islands. So it was spotted over, I think it was a U.S. military, U.S. Air Force base in the Aleutian Islands. That's where they filmed the Aleutian Islands, the Bering Strait up there in that crazy cold region of the world. That's where they filmed Deadliest Catch. For any of you guys that watch Discovery Channel, or I think it was on Discovery Channel like 14 years ago, that's where they filmed Deadliest Catch, was up there just north of the Aleutian Islands. The king crab fishermen up there. Crazy show. The thing is, that balloon drifted over Alaska, over Canada, unnoticed, and then it showed up over an Air Force base in Montana. Now, the reason that that is significant and the reason that that's a problem is that Montana, or is it Montana, Idaho? Not Idaho. United States map. I can picture it. I just can't remember what the name of that state is. The states of, what am I trying to say? Give me 1 second. It's right north of Colorado. Wyoming, thank you. Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota. Those 4 states are so sparsely populated, that's where the United States chose to park over half of the ICBM fleet that the United States operates. The spy balloon was spotted right over all of that territory. So there are hundreds of missile silos, missile bases, where you have a intercontinental ballistic missile buried in the ground in a nuclear bunker, and they've got a guy, actually they've got 2 guys because they both have to turn a key. You've got 2 people sitting in this nuclear bomb-proof basement bunker, and that's completely sealed off. And then you've got the rest of the nuclear bomb shelter for the nuclear missile silo, and they've got hundreds of these little installations, and you've got maybe 30 to 50 soldiers. They are protecting it. Each one of them, if you go on it, it's shoot on sight. Like, they don't play games with that. If there's like a rabbit wanders on, sorry, we're gonna have rabbit for dinner. Like, you don't mess with these people because that's where nukes are stored. These are legitimate nuclear missiles. Over that area, there is a United States Air Force base in Montana, which is where this was sighted, and that Air Force base is the Air Force base that is set up to instantaneously detach a detachment of U.S. military helicopters to any one of those nuclear missile sites if there's a ground-based incursion against it. So if anybody tries to get into that base, not only will the tons of soldiers on site deal with that problem, and they're very good at what they do, you're also going to have that Air Force base respond immediately. So, with this spy balloon hovering over that Air Force base and over all the nuclear missile silos, and there's the concern about China launching an attack on Taiwan. Of course, China is the 3rd largest nuclear power on the planet, nuclear weapon power on the planet. That brings up concern. Are they trying to scout out whether or not are they trying to scout out the nuclear readiness of the United States nuclear triad? One part of the triad being the ICBMs. Well, the update is that the balloon ended up drifting all the way over the Carolinas, and an F-22 Raptor shot it down over with a F-9X Sidewinder missile over the Carolina coast, and people are finding pieces of this balloon all over the Carolinas right now. I think they even set up a hotline where you can call if you find a piece of it so that somebody can come and collect it. So this was a big balloon, by the way. I read that the balloon and its cargo was the size of 3 city buses. I don't know if that's true or not. That you could fact check me on that. But this is a big balloon with monitoring equipment on it. They said it was meteorological. Bah humbug. No, it wasn't meteorological. You don't send a meteorological balloon over a country that's halfway around the planet, where you are currently in a intense trade war with. So anyway, that has thrown tensions completely through the roof with Russia, with United States and China. And if you thought the Cold War was gone, well, you were right. It was gone for about 30 years. It's kind of starting to come back, though, because Russia and China are back with a vengeance. China's not as overtly communist as they used to be. Russia is claiming to be a democracy, but is really run by a cult of personality dictatorship, just like China. And neither one of them like the United States. And they both did sign that Declaration of Unlimited Friendship about a year ago. So China's trying to press America's buttons. Blinken, the Secretary of State, was supposed to go to Beijing and have speak with President Xi Jinping. That has been indefinitely postponed, and tensions have gone up between the United States and China, and relations have gone down. This is also in response to a massive set of sanctions that the United States has placed on China, resulting in their semiconductor and chip manufacturing sectors being just gutted from a technological standpoint. All right. Crazy how you can find the missile silo locations online. Yeah, it's online. The thing is, if you try and go there, it'll probably be the last thing you ever do, because the United States does not play with its nuclear missiles. You don't want one of those going missing. Now, they're about 30 feet tall, so good luck just stealing it, but at the same time, you don't want anybody breaking into that. Apparently, it was the jet stream that the balloon followed, even as it was maneuverable. Yeah, all right. Siobhan Golay did a member chat. said, always wondered what is a golden or a death cross pattern? Do you think they are crucial to considering at this point in the market? So a death cross and a golden cross, very simply, are simply the crosses between moving averages. So I have my moving averages here. Let's just go ahead and I'll just bring up the 55 EMA and the 200 SMA. Normally you would use either both EMAs, both SMAs, but right now, what we'll look at is just these. So this is a golden cross that we actually just witnessed. This is the 50 coming up above the 200. That's wonderful. Typically, you see those happen at the beginning of a bull market. The last time we really saw one happen was right here. Now, we did see one happen at this point in time, but these are pretty substantial, and I'll probably end up making a video on this golden cross because it is quite important. Now, the death crosses, if anybody tells you that a death cross is important, it is important. It's not as important as a golden cross. Reason being, a death cross normally happens so far after the end of the rally, after the all-time high is passed, that the majority of the gains are already lost, and you can already tell that you're in a bear market. So, for example, the death cross in this beginning of the bear market happened right here, June 13th. We had actually already almost to the day, almost completely bottomed out at $28,500. So the death cross, not as important. Golden cross, quite important because it helps you to understand that the market is starting to go into an upwards direction. This development here on the chart is actually quite important. So yes, good eyes noticing that and asking about that. Great question. Tip for the pilot. Yeah, I don't think there was a pilot in there, but yeah, it is. Just waiting for schools to teach children what to do during a nuclear threat. Yeah, hiding under your desk was never going to do anything. That was really just for the peace of mind of the parents who didn't know any better. But now the internet's out there, and somebody's going to make a video saying, your kids are doing this, and it's a waste of time. I'm just wondering if it was a publicity stunt to make us fearful. You mean the balloon, or you mean hiding under desks? I'm not real sure. Let's see here. All right. The cost of the missile needs to be invoiced to the Chinese Communist Party, including gas for the jet and the tip for the pilot. That's true. By the way, interesting announcement. That was actually the first time that an F-22 Raptor had ever shot down something air-to-air, has been confirmed publicly. That jet has been out for about 10 years now. All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap out the stream here. We've gone a little bit over. Really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Be praying for us. We have another OB appointment today, so we're really looking forward to that. And by the way, it looks like there's some fake news going on in chat with what happened with the former team. That's not true, Kitty Kush. Not at all. Anyway, just wanted to make sure I normally I wouldn't address something like that, but I need to clear that up because it looks like there's somebody in chat that thinks that's true. That is not true. There was never any physical combat going on for sure. Anyway, okay. Really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Thank you guys so much for that. If you guys enjoyed today's stream, I want you to go ahead and hit the like button. We've already got 323 likes. Thank you so much for that. Let's get to 400. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll be updated every single time we go live, and hit that post notification bell so you won't miss a single stream. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can find the links for that down below. And again, for all my CT2A alumni, you can find the links down below. Finally, I fixed it. Thank you so much to my employee Malachi for helping with that. All right, guys, really appreciate all of you tuning in. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.